Hey there, and thank you for joining me for today's First Five. I hope you've been able to follow along with our Bible reading plan for this year. If you haven't done so yet, go ahead and check out our Connection Point Church Facebook page for that plan. It's definitely not too late to start. You can get caught up pretty easily. So if you haven't done that already, go check that out today. But today we're looking at Matthew chapter 2, and in it we're going to see some of the promises from the Old Testament and they're being fulfilled here in this chapter. So in the beginning of chapter 2, we read this. After Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea, during the time of King Herod, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem and asked, "Where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw his star in the east and have come to worship him." When King Herod heard this, he was disturbed, and all Jerusalem with him. When he had called together all the people's chief priests and teachers of the law, he asked them where the Christ was to be born. "In Bethlehem in Judea," they replied, "for this is what the prophet has written. But you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For out of you will come a ruler who will be the shepherd of my people Israel." So God had promised this ruler, and it was prophesied in the book of Micah, chapter 5, verse 2. And here we see this reminder once again that the ruler comes in the person of Jesus. So the chapter continues, and the Magi go on to visit Jesus. They discover that King Herod didn't have really good intentions and wanted to kill Jesus, and so they didn't go back to their country in the same way that they had come to protect Jesus. So meanwhile, Joseph had a dream, and an angel had advised him to take Jesus and Mary to Egypt for safety. So in verses 14 and 15, we read this. "So he, Joseph, got up, took the child and his mother during the night and left for Egypt, where he stayed until the death of Herod. And so was fulfilled what the Lord had said through the prophet, 'Out of Egypt I called my son.'" So in Hosea chapter 11, verse 1, we see this prophesied, that God would call his son out of Egypt with his mother Mary and Joseph. And more instances like this are seen throughout this chapter and throughout the whole New Testament. Parts of the Old Testament being referred to as they continue to point us to Jesus. Things that have been prophesied are coming true through the birth, life, and death of Jesus. But if you're like me, sometimes it can be confusing to see how the story of the Old Testament and the New Testament, how they go together. They seem pretty distinctly different, the Old Testament and the New Testament. So sometimes we read them just like that, separate from each other. But the Old Testament is very important. It shows us the nature and the character of God. It shows us his holiness and his righteousness and his sovereignty. It sets up his plan to ultimately bring his people, his most treasured creation, back into right relationship with him. And it shows us this story throughout the history of God's people. But through all of that, the plan is always to redeem and restore and rescue and deliver his people. And the way in which he does that is through the person of Jesus, his son. Jesus is the Redeemer and the Restorer and the Deliverer and the Rescuer. The life and events of Jesus have been prophesied throughout the Old Testament. Arguably, the biggest role of the Old Testament is to point us to Jesus. So don't hear me say that the Old Testament is important, because it is. But what I hope we don't do is get bogged down with details and imageries and stories that might be hard for us to understand in and of themselves if we don't keep the bigger picture in mind. The whole book, the whole Bible, reveals who God is, his plan for his people, and his relentless love and pursuit for his people, culminating in the person of Jesus being sent to rescue us. So, more than ever, I hope that today we're able to find ways to love and to unite with other people. Jesus came to rescue us, so let's live like we've been rescued. Let's be people who love, who listen, who unite, and stand on the side of truth, who is Jesus. Let's make it a great day.